The Graduate Professionals Apprenticeship Program is a program offered by TechBuzz Hub and basically is about skilling and reskilling of graduates. Um, as you can see, what, why, who, when, where, and how. It's basically about reskilling graduates to get work experience, knowledge, and skills to close the gap as they get work ready. It focuses on graduates, career changers, vacates, or even university students. It runs on a monthly basis, so anyone can join anytime in a month, but at the start of the month, sorry, but any other month. It runs a Tech Buzz Hub. It is at the moment full time, not part time, not remote. We are still experimenting the remote option, but for now it is full time. It provides 2 years of experience within 3 months. It is ideal for anyone looking forward to be job ready, to become job ready, or if you changed a career, it is also ideal if you're changing a career. It is also ideal for you. Maybe you're moving from administration to human resource and so on and so forth. And for those ones who are looking forward to leapfrogging your career, you enter first day in the last 1 month, in the next 6 months, you're being maybe given a job raise, or you're being usually is more like being promoted or given a raise in terms of salary. That is what the program basically makes you ready for. And it focuses on building successful professional careers through mentorship, coaching, and exposure. Every month, we take a maximum of 5 personnel to be able to provide the necessary technical support. This program started way back 2017, so far over 130 alumni through 12 cohorts, actually now through 14 cohorts, 96% completion rate. 80% of the people that do the program say it has influenced their journeys. Today, we have a new strategy called Industry Academia Bridging, or Industry Academia Partnerships and Collaborations. A quick case study: in 10 years, Uganda graduates a minimum of 4 million. Even other sources say 7 million. So whichever the number, we took the minimum number. But on standard, we know that the country creates only 700,000 jobs, 70,000 jobs every month. But so if we took a 10-year case study, it means that every 10 years it creates only 700,000 jobs. The question is, where does the 3,300,000 people go? If we use the 7 million, where does the 6,300,000 people go? That's a question. And of course, these are not cooked numbers. As you can see, Data Monitor, New Vision, even universities like Uganda Christian University still spell out the same challenge. Why join a program like this is to gain employable skills through mentorship, variable work experience through coaching and support or technical support, networking opportunities through exposure, personal growth and development to become competitive, and then being able to fast track employment through the connections and job introductions that we make. This is what some of the participants speak about the program. Alinda says, I didn't know how to market content after creating it, but through the program, I learned how to strategize my content, plan my tasks, optimize it for search engine optimization. And then on the other hand, Best, who is from the accounting side, I have learned so much through the program. I wasn't familiar with accounting software like QuickBooks, but I now know how to post receipts, expenses, generate financial reports, etc. And even before someone joins the program, we have a resource center that people go through, and you see they also have very great experiences when you read through that. This was cohort 3. As you notice, we have several accountants, digital marketers, proposal writers, human resource managers, and so on and so forth. So if you're a student, if you're a graduate, if you're changing career, this is ideal for you. gaining variable work experience, bridging the gap between academia, acquiring role-based experience. Then we look around the different programs that we have: human resource, accounting and finance, digital marketing, sales and marketing, software engineering, proposal writing and fundraising, multimedia and production, research and projects. As you notice, today we are discussing proposal writing and fundraising, and one of our practitioners will be taking us through as we all learn. This is how we sell the program: land a decent job after 3 months of world-class training. It gives you 2 years of experience within 3 months, gives you industry tips and hacks from professionals to be able to leapfrog your career, as earlier mentioned, and getting you strategic placements ideal for career growth and development at the end of the program. Yeah, so wise men also say, tell me I forget, teach me I may remember. Involve me and I learn. Apprenticeship is the most natural way of learning. It allows skills to be passed down while fostering discipline, humility, and mastery. The best education doesn't always come in a classroom. Apprenticeships empower people to learn by doing, ensuring that knowledge is lived, not just memorized. So if you have been out there and hoping to get work experience, this is the only opportunity, or this is the kind of opportunity that allows you to understand, to learn practically how things are done. The program does not come at a free cost. It comes at a cost, but we also have free sessions. Sessions like these that happen every Wednesday are always free of charge. But if you want to join the program, you definitely have to pay a certain amount of money, and that is 2.5 million shillings. But sessions like these are free. And then we also have a resource center that is free, where you can always go and check out a lot of information on certain areas. As I conclude, GPAP is a hands-on skilling program providing 2 years of experience in 3 months to graduates, career changers, and holiday makers to leapfrog your career to excellence with mentorship, coaching, exposure, connections, and competitiveness to get jobs faster. What does leapfrog your career to excellence mean in this case? It means that you can achieve rapid nonlinear professional advancement intentionally by bypassing traditional slow step-by-step promotion path to reach a high level position faster instead of a linear trajectory. That is what GPAP provides you. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to right about now invite our speaker of the day to take us through the session as planned. Michelle, if you're there, I will stop sharing my screen and request you to share your screen if you have a presentation, and speak to our audience today. Thank you very much. Over to you, Michelle.
Thank you, Ken. Let me share my screen. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michelle Mugeni, and I'll be leading you through this beginner level presentation on what proposal writing is and how to work through it step by step in order to build a strong proposal. So, the first question that we have to ask ourselves before we begin engaging in the process of proposal writing is what it is. And essentially, proposal writing is a process of creating a document or an application that is designed to secure funding or approval or to gain a contract by presenting a plan that will enable you to provide a service or solution to an organization or to your company. There's different types of proposals that people write. Sometimes they are grants, sometimes they are ways of securing approval for a project within your company. But regardless of what kind of proposal you'll be writing, the process of writing a proposal is necessary in order to show someone what kind of service or product you will be providing, how you plan on providing it, and making sure that you confirm to them that you're the best person to provide that service or solution. So, why does writing proposals matter? Well, essentially, proposal writing takes ideas and turns them into approved projects, funded initiatives, and business contracts. By engaging in proposal writing, like I mentioned, you essentially gain approval for a project or an initiative that you may be planning. You're able to fund projects and you're able to secure businesses in order to provide services to clients. So, proposal writing is about persuading key individuals or organizations to select your project or service. And the only way that you can ensure that you're able to do that is by making a strong case for why you should be the service provider through your proposal. So in this presentation, we will be going through a simple step-by-step guide on how to write a strong proposal, going through the very beginning when you receive the request for proposals, the call for proposals, all the way to submission and the follow-up as well. To break down how to write a strong proposal, there are 10 steps that you need to be mindful of, and you can flesh them out accordingly based off of the proposal, the project that you're going to be proposing, the kind of work that needs to be done. But when it comes to writing a strong proposal, it can be boiled down to 10 simple steps. The first being comprehension, making sure you understand what's being requested. The second being assessing eligibility, making sure that you are the right person to provide the service, to manage to implement the project that you plan on proposing. The third is building the right structure to your proposal, making sure that it has all the necessary information that's needed. The fourth is making the fit clear, making it very clear to the person who you will be sending this proposal to that you are the right person to offer the service or to implement the project. The fifth is explaining your methodology, making it clear how you will be breaking down your service, how you'll be delivering your service, how you will be implementing your projects, etc., based off of what you plan on doing. The sixth is preparing the budget and including it in your proposal. The seventh is gathering supporting documents, making sure that your proposal is adequately supplemented. The eighth is submitting on time. The ninth is celebrating the work that you have done. And then the 10th is engaging in follow-up and learning. So we're going to break down the steps that were mentioned and expand on them a bit. The first is comprehension is key. It's very important to make sure that you understand exactly what the call is asking for. So you have to read through the call carefully, make sure that you understand the services or products that are needed, make sure you understand how you will deliver them, identify the services, identify the products, and note how the organization wants them to be delivered, essentially. That's the first thing that you need to do. The second step is assessing eligibility. You need to make sure that you have reviewed the key requirements that are stated in the request for proposal. And you need to make sure that you are actually able to deliver everything that is required of you as the project manager, as the person implementing as the person delivering the service. So what this would look like would be reviewing the key requirements, asking yourself whether you meet the criteria. And I think that a simple way of making sure you do meet the criteria is to turn the requirements that you see in the request for proposal into a checklist. And then check off as many items within those requirements as possible. Ask yourself how many of these requirements do you check off? And you should be able to then assess whether you are the right person to deliver that service, to deliver the project or not. The third step is building the structure for your proposal. The first thing that you need to do is make sure before you started writing the proposal that you've established what's going to go into the proposal and that you know exactly what needs to be sent in. So start with a table of contents, benchmark from previous technical proposals, and make sure that you include only what is relevant for that proposal. Whatever it is that the organization or individual has asked for, make sure that that is what you include in your proposal, and make sure to minimize as much unnecessary or irrelevant information as possible. Step four is making the fit clear. It's very important that you emphasize exactly how much you match the requirements for the request for proposals. After making sure that you've checked eligibility, you'll be able to know whether you're a good fit for the request for proposals, for the grant, for whatever it is that you're sending a proposal in for. So the next thing that you do is make sure when you're writing the proposal, when you've established your structure and you're filling it out, you make it clear at every opportunity, any given opportunity, how fit you are for providing the service or product. So explain clearly how your experience matches the requirements. Make sure to use evidence and examples. Some requests for proposals will ask for the evidence. Others, it's up to you to give that evidence yourself. And make sure the connection is easy for the reviewer, for the proposal reviewer to see. Step 5 is explaining your methodology. Describe how you will deliver the work and show that your method is realistic and practical. This is really key because this is exactly what the proposal reviewers are going to be looking for. You want to make sure that not only do you have what it takes to provide the service, but you're able to break it down for them. If you don't explain your methodology clearly, if you don't make it very clear exactly how you'll be walking through the services that you plan on providing, they cannot take your word for it that you'll be able to provide the service. If you haven't broken it down into your methodology, then your word is as good as theirs. They may not necessarily believe you have what it takes to provide the service. So describe how you will deliver the work. If there is no framework that is provided, then make sure you propose your own approach. What happens in some requests for proposals is the organization or individual who is requesting proposals will sometimes detail the service that they need provided, and they will give a framework for how they would expect the rewarded applicant to provide that service. They will give you a framework. So if that framework is provided, then you can highlight how you would use that framework to deliver the service. But if it's not provided, then you need to give your own approach to how you will deliver the service needed. And it's important that you show that your method is realistic and practical. Step 6 is preparing the budget. It's very important to develop a realistic budget for the project or the service that you are going to be providing. It's important to keep it high level unless more detail is required. You won't need to go to as much detail about how exactly you're going to allocate resources for the service provided or for the project. So you can keep it high level, but you need to make sure it's realistic. It needs to be something that a reviewer can look at and understand how the cost adds up. So check whether the budget, it's also important to check whether the budget is part of the proposal or it will need to be a separate document. Some requests for proposals will ask for a technical proposal, in which case you give them one full proposal that includes a budget. Others will ask for a separate financial proposal. So it's very important, again, to make sure you read the request for proposal clearly and understand exactly what they're asking for in order to meet their needs. Step 7, gather supporting documents. Depending on the grant that you're applying for, the request for proposal that you are responding to, they may highlight additional documents that they want you to send in. So when you are creating your proposal, it's important to include all required annexes and certifications if that's what's required. Verify that nothing is missing and make sure that you match the submission checklist. So make sure that you manage your time, allocating enough time at the end for review and corrections, and ensure that you submit before the deadline. Step number 9 is also celebrating the work that you've done. Proposal writing is very demanding, and I think that it's very important if you've worked on a proposal with a group of people, even if it's just one extra person, that you acknowledge the effort that you have invested into creating your proposal. Make sure that you appreciate the work that you have done and appreciate the work of your team as well. And then the final step is following up and learning. Should you receive feedback on the proposal that you've submitted, make sure that you review it carefully and that you take note of what has worked well and what can be improved. Make sure you make note of those lessons learned and that you're able to draw back from that information when you are working on your next proposal. So those have been 10 steps that you can take in order to write a strong proposal. And I think that the key takeaway is that a good proposal requires, in order to engage in proposal writing well and make a good proposal, you need to have proper understanding of the service that's being required. You need to create a proper structure for your proposal. You need to establish appropriate fit for the service that's being provided. and you need to make sure that you show you're able to deliver the service and that you are able to deliver the proposal in time. So it takes discipline. You have to know what you have to offer and make sure that it is clear how you will be able to deliver your service. So with all of this being said and done, here at Tech Buzz Hub, we are creating a community for proposal writers. And in a moment, once I've stopped sharing my screen, I will be sending in a link for a WhatsApp channel. And in this channel, there are several opportunities that are advertised for grant applications, opportunities for funding. So if you are interested in accessing these opportunities, I will be sharing the link in the chat, and you should be able to access the WhatsApp channel so that you can gain access to these grants as well. So with that being said, thank you for listening to this presentation. If you have any questions or comments, I am opening the floor up for you to ask them either through audio or in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michelle. That was really awesome and done quite fast. But also, if you are able to share certain tools, I think it would be nice to have a look at a checklist, for example. Is there like one that you've done in the recent times that we could, that the participants could look at? That would be nice to share if you have one. I know it might be hard to start evaluating or doing the same, um, reviewing a proposal, but let's wait for what the questions bring or have, and then we can see how to manage that. So for now, I want to call upon Michelle to answer some of the questions that have been asked.
Thank you, Ken. I'm in the chat at the moment looking at some of the questions that have been sent, so I will be answering them in order. The first question that I'm seeing from Joseph is there any template that can be used to make a nice proposal? I think as far as the structure is concerned, a lot of the time you'll be able to pick what needs to go into the proposal based off of what's in the request for proposals. So if there's a need for a budget, then that will need to be included. Highlighting methodology will need to be included as well. In terms of a template, I personally, I'm not sure if there are any templates that we would be able to share from Tech Buzz Hub, and made generally available to the public. But I think that if you were to go online and type up and search for templates for standard proposals, you should find that there will need to be maybe a background, an introduction, who you are, what your organization does, justification for the project that you may be proposing, as well as methodology. You also need to maybe include a section that adds in past experience, maybe some sample work um, as well as a section for the budget. And I think that, yeah, those are generally some of the things that tend to go into a proposal. You need to highlight who you are, what you are interested in doing, whether you have done some kind of that work before or a project similar to that in the past. You'll need to highlight that experience. You need to highlight what you plan on doing moving forward. And then you'll need to highlight how much it would cost essentially. So those tend to be the key elements that go into a proposal in order to make it as strong as possible. But like I mentioned, all of the steps mentioned in the presentation, making sure you understand exactly what's being asked for and that you meet the eligibility are also very important. And I think that kind of also answers Ignatius's question as well for the where someone mentioned something about the template for what has to go into the checklist. Um, there isn't a specific tool that we have used for creating the checklist aside from Excel, just creating a sheet and detailing all of the picking different parts from the request for proposal and inputting them into the sheet, and then asking yourself how many of them you actually check off, whether it's a yes for some of the questions or for a no, and then taking a step back and reviewing the checklist and seeing how much of the requirements you fit. There's another question from Ignatius. Please share some sample proposals you have worked on before. Again, I may need to receive some correction from Ken. I'm not sure how many of the proposals we're able to share externally, but I'll have to double check and see. What's the difference between academic proposal and funded proposal in terms of structure? My understanding is that an academic proposal will be focused more towards research work or anything related to a field of academia. Uh, the difference between academic proposals versus funded proposals in terms of structure, I think that there are examples of academic work that can be funded. This is to assume that academic proposals aren't funded, whereas funded proposals are. There are examples of academic proposals that are made that look for funding. So, for example, research proposals are examples of academic proposals in which someone will request funding in order to receive and they will request funding in order to conduct research. So it really depends on the kind of academic proposal that you're trying to work on, and who the recipient for that proposal will be, whether it's an organization looking to fund your academia, whether they're looking to fund their research or whether it's a university board, it depends. But in terms of structure, I think that the only difference is if maybe a proposal being sent isn't for funding, then they may not request for a budget from you. And that, I think, as far as I'm concerned, is the only real difference to the structure. Someone asked, I am looking in what steps it is important to have some knowledge on donors worldwide. It is definitely helpful when you are looking to start proposal writing to know which donors within the country, within the region, and worldwide fund projects and the kind of projects that they fund, whether they offer grants or loans, the kind of funding that they do. Part of the reason I sent the link into the WhatsApp channel is because you can find a large resource of people who are currently looking for projects to fund who have grants that they are offering. I think that finding channels like that or going online and looking at organizations like funds for NGOs, for example, that's another link that you can look at in order to see which organizations are offering grants, which organizations are interested in donating to projects worldwide. It's that kind of thing is helpful, but you can go online and look up donors, grants, and you'll be able to get an idea of which organizations are interested in funding projects. James said many people nowadays write proposals using some tools. Can you share some of the important tools that can be used for proposal writing? I think for the most part, the tools that I have used have been simple. They've mostly just been Google Docs for collaborative work, as well as Google Sheets as well. Google Sheets, I've used them for creating the eligibility checklist and assessing whether the organization, whether TechBuzz is eligible for responding to the request for proposals that we've received. And Google Docs is great for working in a team in order to create the structure and eventually the full proposal that you plan on sending off. So those are the tools that I have used so far. And if anyone, like Ken mentioned, if anyone in this call right now has other tools that they have used in the past in order to work on their proposals, please feel free to share. May has asked, what are the chances that I can get a grant fund even when there has not been a request for proposals? There are a number of organizations that uh, post for grant applications. It may not necessarily be worded as a request for proposal, but there are a number of organizations that post for grants or announce that they are looking to make donations for several projects or services or people who say that they're looking for clients. And I think that the chances of you getting a grant fund are always very high. But at the end of the day, if you don't submit a proposal at all, then your chances are at zero. So it's always good to submit a proposal anyway, and you never know what will happen. I think that the more proposals you send out, the higher your chances of getting a grant are. I think that at the moment it's very difficult. Working on proposals is very challenging, it's very demanding, and much like looking for jobs, for example, you can't guarantee that you'll get the first proposal that you submit, nor can you guarantee that you'll get the second one. But the more you send out your proposals, the more you apply for your grants, the higher your chances are of getting something. Grace has asked, how well can one comprehend requirements for a call for proposals, given that the documents are in most cases lengthy? That's a good question. I think that there will often be a section that highlights eligibility or key requirements. And that should be the first place that you look at, but you should also try and look throughout the document for key things such as thematic areas, for example. So if you look for a request for proposals and it highlights that they are looking for someone to deliver a service related to energy, for example, that may not necessarily, it will likely be something that's mentioned in the requirements, but that's like something that you can look at as well when they're describing the background for the kind of service that they are looking to deliver or the kind of organization that they're looking to. That's a section where you can find information, but I think um, there should be titles for different sections that highlight that will grab your attention when you're looking through the document. So these sections will be, like I said, the background, introduction, what the organization does, as well as eligibility or key requirements for the proposal. I'm seeing someone has mentioned, I've not. Thank you, Michelle, for your submissions. I have not heard of how to develop a problem statement and objectives. The key thing for delivering a problem statement, as well as your objectives, asking yourself what the overall societal issue is that your project would aim to help, highlighting why it is a problem, and then stating how your project or your service, whatever it is that you're working on your proposal for, will offer a solution to that problem. And in terms of breaking down the objectives, the advantage of a proposal statement of highlighting what the overall problem is, pointing out why it is a problem, and then highlighting what your proposal, what your proposed project or initiative has to offer is it will help you break down exactly what your objectives would be because they will be more often than not in relation to your problem statement. Okay, so someone has pointed out, thank you very much for the presentation. Kindly expound more on RFP. RFP stands for Request for Proposals, and this is a documentation or a call that will more often than not be sent by an organization when they are looking for a service provider, someone to provide a certain service that they are looking for and requesting proposals from individuals or organizations from the public. So that's what a request, what an RFP is. That's what a request for proposal is. So Gerald has asked, in which scenarios are proposals requested? I think that the scenarios in which an individual or an organization will request a proposal will vary. First of all, there's two different types of proposals. There's solicited proposals, ones in which, like you've pointed out, the proposals, the requests are being made by the organization. They have made a formal call to the public saying we're looking for people to submit proposals for a project or for the provision of a service that we have that we need to deliver. And then in some cases, there's unsolicited proposals, in which case an individual or an organization will reach out to a company and say, this is a project that we're working on, that we're interested in delivering, and this is the proposal that we have to deliver this service for you, or this is the proposal that we have requesting funding from your organization. So those are the two cases, solicited or unsolicited proposals. And in terms of which scenarios they come from, it really varies. There may be some calls for proposals that you get from the not-profit sector, some that come from profitable organizations. So I think that there will be some that will be that will be donations that are being given up for, and then some will be grants. So then there'll also be requests for proposals, which, like mentioned, will basically mean that an organization is looking for a vendor to provide a specific service. So there's a lot of different scenarios in which proposals will be requested by a variety of different organizations, profit or not for profit. And I think that if you're interested, there's a lot of different options that you have for proposals that you can submit. Diana has said, thank you for sharing the WhatsApp channel with opportunities. Are there opportunities to be part of a team responding to any of the calls as a way to hone our proposal writing skills? How can one participate? There's an organization actually that works as, there's a group of people that work as a team in order to respond to proposals. And in being a part of this team, one can hone their proposal writing skills. So I will share the link to it in just a minute. The organization is called FISORI, and it's a research organization that offers courses in projects, monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning. And once you join, you're able to take one of these courses, or you can join the group that they have. And what happens is the group is formed, and then the person who is the lead selects call for proposals, and the group goes through the call together and works on a statement of interest or a proposal and submits it. And it's a great opportunity in order to learn how to hone your proposal writing skills. And so I'll make a note to share that in just a moment. So, and Justine has said, I have seen RFPs that want you to be recommended by a past guarantee. How do I manage such a scenario by pass and submit my proposal? So, yes, scenarios like that do exist where an organization may request that you send in a recommendation. I think that sometimes what that will look like is adding in a part as part of your proposal, the names and contact information for an organization or an individual who maybe you've worked with on a similar project or offered a similar service to, who will be able to recommend you similar to a job reference or recommendation. If you include that in your proposal structure, then that is really all that you'll need to do when you're submitting your proposal. Or in some cases, they may request sample work or like a reference, a written reference from people. So you should make sure that the individual organization that you've worked with in the past is able to vouch for you and provide that reference. And you should make sure that you do that in and while giving them as much time as possible before the deadline submission. I think at this point, I'm going to request that my colleague Grace hop in and answer some of the questions and give final remarks. But I'd like to thank everyone for listening to the presentation, and thank you for being a part of this meeting. Grace, if you could continue with the questions and the comments, please.
Thank you, Michelle. That was really a comprehensive and well put presentation. Let me see in the chat how many questions would I have to respond to. There is one that says, I have seen RFPs that want you to be recommended by a past guarantee. A past guarantee, yeah, it's because some of the grantors really want it's because some of the people offering funding really want credibility, and so sometimes if it's really a requirement, you may not go past by it. You will have to get someone recommending you who has been maybe who has received funding from such an organization. So there is no way you could bypass that. And the best thing is to always ask for an introduction from that person who has been granted before, because then it boosts your credibility and boosts your ability to receive the funding. How do you handle last minute changes from executive stakeholders? If you're on the technical team writing, I would advise for you to have made comprehensive research before the time of submission or even before submitting to the executive leads. Okay, sometimes yes, they are guiding based on experience, but also if you have done comprehensive research, I would advise you to be grounded on what you have written down and be able to stand by it and explain. In most cases, if what you've come up with is correct and based on research, then the executive will also be able to understand. It's a different thing if you are intimidated and you end up changing on last minute, yet you're even changing to something that is not correct. Maybe it's based off of their experience, but not actually applicable for this particular proposal that you're working on. So for me, I would advise someone on the technical team writing to be grounded and make appropriate research. Okay, not not be grounded on what is not correct, or maybe become rigid and refuse counsel, but be grounded in research so that you're able to stand by what you have put down and explain. Yeah, that's what I could say. How do you split work among team members? Yeah. The best thing is to activate in as an organization is to activate a role framework. So, because proposal writing is clearly defined, you have a team that is reviewing the proposal and comprehending it and understanding it. You have a team that is putting together the documents that are required. You have a team that is putting together the budget. You have an oversight team. You have a team that is coordinating submission, and you have a team that is checking that is that is checking against your checklist. So, based on those, based on the structure, apologies for my background, but based on the structure that you have developed, or even as Michelle has discussed, it's able to help us distinguish on who does what during the proposal writing team. And finally, it is good to have someone who has greater expertise reviewing the proposal before submission, because then they're able to align, especially be able to coin the objectives to the required stands, to the required standards, or even they have great maybe grant intelligence or funding intelligence that they may guide based on their experience. What are some of the procedures for proposal review and submission tips? Yeah, as mentioned, having an expert reviewer, that is a good idea. Then having a documentation checklist, checking all documents and requirements based on your checklist. And remember that you develop the checklist way before you even start the proposal. So that means throughout the proposal, either you've amended it and it has come to the right, and it is correct, I should say. So submitting against the checklist, yeah, is one good tip for proper submission. And then having an expert reviewer is also another good tip. And then also having understanding the form of submission, whether the funder wants you to submit in one complete document, the package, the final package of how you're sending out your proposal is also key. And this one you understand from the request for proposal how the funder wants you to make the submission.
Thank you, Grace. As mentioned, this is the Sorry website. They hold several different training programs for project management, monitoring and evaluation, and learning. And as you can see, they also have access to a number of different sites that a person can use if they're looking for grants to apply for, or for any sort of funding. So if you're interested in gaining more access to grants, this is a great site that you can use. And they also host courses, like I mentioned, in monitoring and evaluation, proposal writing, that you can join in order to improve your skills. So this is Fisori, and I will be sharing the link in the chat, or you can see the link highlighted above, fisori.org. And to answer the question about eligibility checklists, this is an example of a checklist that was used in order to test the eligibility of TechBuzz Hub when when responding to a request for proposals. As you can see, we broke it down in terms of organizational eligibility and technical eligibility. So that being, are we the kind of organization that fits into the requirements for providing the service highlighted in that request for proposal? and we wrote each of them down, picking them from the RFP itself, and asked ourselves whether we met the requirements or whether we did not. And then there's the technical requirements that have to do with the expertise, the kind of service that they're asking for, the kind of projects that they are looking to implement, or the kind of product that you're supposed to be providing. Do you have the experience? Do you have the expertise? Is this your field of expertise? Are you able to provide the service? And then highlighting whether you meet those requirements and pointing out the deadlines. So it's a very simple framework used with a very simple tool that everyone should have access to, and you simply point out whether you meet the requirements or whether you don't. And in doing so and going through the checklist step by step, you're able to ask yourself whether you are a good candidate. And it's worth pointing out that you do not have to meet 100% of the requirements to respond to a call. If you meet even 80% of them, 70%, if you see that for the most part you meet the requirements for a call, then it's worth sending in your proposal anyway. Yes, so with that being said, I think that those are all of the questions and the remarks that we have. So if it's all right with my team, I think that we will be closing this presentation.